Welcome to Tariffs Updates. Please subscribe the channel. Good evening. Tonight we bring you a landmark development from the nation's highest court, one that could have far-reaching consequences for the American economy and global trade. In a historic decision, the Supreme Court has officially overturned the Trump-era tariffs, a move that could fundamentally redefine American economic policy for years to come and reshape the way the U.S. interacts with its trading partners. The justices, in a decisive 6-3 ruling, declared that the executive branch overstepped its authority by invoking national security as a broad justification for imposing sweeping tariffs. This ruling marks a significant check on presidential power. The decision dismantles a core pillar of the America First strategy, sending immediate shockwaves through both Washington's political circles and the financial markets on Wall Street, where uncertainty and speculation are now running high. The case at the heart of this ruling, U.S. Steel versus Importers Alliance, challenged the use of a 1962 trade law, Section 232, to justify tariffs on steel and aluminum imports, arguing that the law was never intended for such broad application. The court's decision now sets a powerful new precedent, sharply limiting presidential power over trade policy and requiring future administrations to seek congressional approval for similar actions. For American businesses, especially manufacturers and small companies hit hard by higher costs, this ruling is a major victory, offering hope for lower prices and more predictable trade conditions. The Biden administration now faces a dramatically altered landscape, forced to rethink and redesign U.S. trade strategy, without the legal tools that previous presidents relied on, and to work more closely with Congress on future trade decisions. The rules of global trade have just been dramatically rewritten, signaling a new era for American businesses, policymakers, and trading partners around the world. To really understand the impact of recent trade policies, let's break down what tariffs actually are and why they matter. A tariff is essentially a tax placed on imported goods. The goal is to make foreign products more expensive, which in turn encourages consumers and businesses to buy domestically produced items, protecting local industries from overseas competition. During the Trump administration, tariffs became a central tool of economic policy, used aggressively to target not just China, but also some of America's closest allies. The administration imposed tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of goods, ranging from steel and aluminum to electronics and everyday products, arguing that these measures would protect American jobs, boost manufacturing, and strengthen national security. This marked a sharp departure from decades of bipartisan support for free trade agreements, which had aimed to lower barriers and encourage global commerce. Other countries, especially China, quickly retaliated by imposing their own tariffs on U.S. exports, hitting American agricultural products like soybeans and pork particularly hard. As a result, American farmers and manufacturers found themselves caught in the crossfire, losing access to key international markets and facing growing uncertainty. The outcome was a full-blown trade war, with escalating tariffs on both sides that sent shockwaves through the entire U.S. economy and global markets. While some industries, like steel, celebrated new protections, others struggled with higher costs for materials and lost sales abroad, leading to layoffs and closures. The Trump tariffs were bold, highly controversial, and their effects deeply divisive, sparking heated debates among politicians, business leaders, and everyday Americans. Now, with today's Supreme Court decision overturning those tariffs, that turbulent era in U.S. trade policy has officially come to a close, setting the stage for a new chapter. How did tariffs affect everyday Americans? When tariffs hit, importers paid more for goods, and those costs were passed on to consumers. Prices rose on everything from washing machines to canned soup. For small businesses, like a bike shop importing steel frames, tariffs meant higher costs and tough choices. Raise prices or cut profits. Studies showed American consumers and businesses bore nearly all the costs. On jobs, the picture was mixed. Some steel mills saw a short-term boost, but industries using steel, cars, appliances, construction, faced higher costs and layoffs. For every job created in steel, several were lost elsewhere. Farmers were hit especially hard by retaliatory tariffs, losing key export markets. The overall economic effect: higher prices, lost jobs, and a drag on growth. Tariffs were meant to help but often hurt more than they helped. Tariffs created clear winners and losers. Domestic steel and aluminum producers benefited, reopening plants and rehiring workers. For these communities, tariffs meant jobs and hope. But for industries relying on imports, automakers, tech, food, costs soared, profits shrank, and prices rose. Farmers suffered most as China retaliated by cutting off U.S. agricultural imports, causing prices to collapse. The government responded with multi-billion-dollar bailouts for struggling farmers. One policy, two Americas. Some revived, others devastated. The contradictions of the trade war were stark, helping some, hurting many. The Supreme Court's decision exposes just how complex and far-reaching these policies were. The Supreme Court's decision has sparked strong and immediate reactions nationwide, with people from all walks of life tuning in to see what it means for their futures. Newsrooms buzz with analysis, and social media is flooded with opinions and debates. Business groups and trade associations are celebrating, calling it a major victory for stability and economic growth. Many executives believe the decision will encourage investment and create a more predictable environment for companies to plan ahead. For workers in protected industries, however, there's a sense of fear and anger. Many worry about job losses, plant closures, and the future of their communities. Some unions are already calling for new protections and support for affected workers. Politicians are deeply split. Republicans decry the ruling as a blow to American workers and manufacturing, warning of negative consequences for the middle class. Most Democrats, on the other hand, praise it as a necessary check on executive overreach and a step toward fairer trade. Some progressives worry it weakens important tools to protect U.S. jobs and industries, fearing that vulnerable communities could be left behind in the new trade landscape. Farmers, meanwhile, are relieved, hoping for renewed access to global markets and better prices for their crops. Many see this as a chance to recover from years of uncertainty. The American Farm Bureau calls it a step toward normalizing trade, emphasizing the importance of open markets for rural America's prosperity. A soybean farmer in Iowa says, "This is the best news in years. We just want to compete on a level playing field and sell our crops around the world." The hope now is that with U.S. tariffs gone, other countries will drop their retaliatory measures, opening doors for American exports and easing global tensions. The end of the trade war brings both relief and uncertainty. While some celebrate new opportunities, others brace for the challenges and adjustments that lie ahead. Experts agree. This ruling is a game changer. It sharply limits presidential power over trade, restoring more authority to Congress. Future presidents will have to think twice before using national security as a trade weapon. Economists predict lower costs, less inflation, and more investment as tariffs disappear. But some warn the U.S. may be less able to respond quickly to unfair trade practices, especially from China. The Biden administration must now pivot, moving from unilateral tariffs to working with allies. Expect a shift toward new trade agreements and a more collaborative approach. The era of go-it-alone trade wars is over. America's trade policy is entering uncharted territory. The world is watching how the U.S. adapts. The Supreme Court's decision will reshape the U.S. economy and its global relationships. Tariff removal won't be instant. Supply chains and prices will adjust over months. Protected industries must adapt, while others may see new opportunities. Trade policy power shifts from the White House to Congress, promising more debate and possibly more gridlock. Allies welcome a return to rules-based trade. China faces a more united front. The U.S. moves away from protectionism, but new challenges await. The verdict closes one chapter and opens another, with consequences that will unfold for years. We'll be watching.